Hello everybody, this is the Hollywood Rabbi. I'm out here in front of the beautiful Playhouse nightclub on Hollywood Boulevard. And I'm here to bring you this week's Torah Portion. That's right, it's called Beshalach, which means to send. And if you were with us last week, we talked about the 10 plagues that were sent to educate the Egyptians on the power of the one God and the power to do the right thing. And Pharaoh, he even understood he was wrong. He even said it. He said, I've sinned and God is just. But education was not an option with him. He just kept changing his mind and hardening his heart. And at this point in the game, the Jewish people decided to cash in their chips. They had been working as slaves for 420 years. The original deal was that they were supposed to be paid for their services. But as soon as they started working, the Egyptians decided to enslave them. And they went to the king's treasury to get all sorts of jewels and gold and precious stones in order to take with them. But leaving Egypt is not an easy thing. How would you find your escape route to Israel? What would you do? They had to avoid the Hittites. They were a warring people. And they wanted to avoid the Philistines as well. So they decided to take the way up the coast. And as they were leaving, they heard a terrible sound of rumbling. And what did they see behind them? As they see Pharaoh's army charging towards them with the most advanced technology in warfare, which are the horse-drawn chariots. Those were like the tanks of today, and they were largely unbeatable because of their use of horse and chariot in the ancient world. So the Israelites, beyond the point of return, because who was facing them? That was their old taskmasters, their bosses, all these people that persecuted them, wanting to enslave them again. And there was only the Sea of Reeds. What were they to do? So Moses decides to ask God for some assistance. And he says, God, what should we do? Can you help us here? So what was God's response? God's response was, tell the people to get going. Tell them to get moving. And they realized they were at the point of no return. There was no way back, so there was only forward. So Caleb and Joshua started going into the ocean. And they kept getting deeper and deeper in. And the waters reached their neck. And they're finally underneath. The waters reached underneath their nostrils, about to take their last breath. And all of a sudden there was a great 85-mile-an-hour wind that blew apart the waters, that held the waters open. The tables are turning. The tide is turning. You had the helpless people now were moving towards freedom, and the powerful had become helpless and trapped. And suddenly the wind died down and the waters started to smash against the other, and it caused a big wave, and all the Egyptian army was decimated. They were drowned in the sea. And who was standing on the shore watching it was the Pharaoh, the most powerful man in the world, whose ego got in the way. Well, as soon as the people got to the other side, they started to complain, and rightfully so. They were in the middle of the desert. They wanted water. They wanted to know where the next meal was coming from. So what did they do? They started complaining. It sounded like Jackie Mason was there. They said, what did you do? You brought us in the desert to die? There weren't enough graves in Egypt. You had to bring us out here to the desert. There were a lot of complaints, and they were issued towards Moses. They had just witnessed one of the greatest supernatural events of all time, one of the greatest miracles, parting of the Red Sea, and they also saw the 10 plagues, and they were doubting God already. Wouldn't that be enough to make you believe that God was going to take care of you? But they weren't sure, because they only saw God's angry side. They didn't see his nurturing side. So they had to be reassured that they could have a positive relationship with God. God said, no, I will take care of you. I'm going to provide for you for water and food. And Moses hit the rock and water came out and the people were satiated with food and drink. People needed to move forward. People have to make a choice in life. Faith is based on decisions. When you have faith, you take the choice to see the world in a different way. And I've said this before, just because you see a big miracle doesn't mean that's enough to sustain you for life. You have to see the miracles in every single day life. Would you think it's a miracle if watermelons fell from the sky? Why isn't it a miracle if you take a seed and plant it in the dirt and water it, then a juicy watermelon grows in about 3 or 4 months? Isn't that a miracle? Aren't we surrounded by miracles? I know you could always just wish it away and say it has to do with science and botany, but it's nonetheless, the more I learn about science and botany, the more I appreciate the miracles in nature. In the Torah, we're told that the gods don't control the world. We make our own choices. And only when we are able to start the actions and make our own choices, then when we can't do any more, we will reach out our hands to God and ask for help and assistance. We will work as partners with God and forge a great relationship with our celestial parent. I really want to thank you all for watching. This is the Hollywood Rabbi wishing you all a Shabbat Shalom, a wonderful weekend, and may you and your family and your loved ones be blessed. See you soon. Bye now.